Welcome, everybody, to the Fastback Podcast, where we discuss the beauty that is the Fast and Furious franchise, among other related action films. My name is Justin. I'm here, as always, with my friend Leif.
Howdy.
How's it going today, Leif?
Oh, pretty good. You?
Decent week? Anything crazy happen?
No.
Same.
Nothing. Same. Slow and steady, man. That's all I got.
It's always got
I got one speed.
Week after week, slow and steady. Could be worse. Like we mentioned a few weeks ago and last week, this week we are going to be talking about the 2002 Vin Diesel movie, XXX, the first in what is now a series of three. Topical this week because tomorrow, XXX, The Return of Xander Cage, comes out on DVD and Blu-ray and all that. I would think, based upon what I saw here, without getting too far ahead of ourselves, that will probably be a movie that we will be discussing at some point on the Fastback Podcast. I think
yes.
This was enough to
We will.
see.
We will definitely have to do the trilogy.
The trilogy. With this being directed by the director of Fast and Furious, and with it being Vin Diesel action picture from the early 2000s. This is right in the wheelhouse of what we talk about. I'm sure it will come to a point where these movies that we talk about become less and less related to the Fast and the Furious as we start branching out into other things. But as for now, we have lots of things that we can watch that are right in that wheelhouse. There's still plenty of...
We're locked into some serious content here.
Yeah, there's still plenty to look at before we start branching out. So I watched this on DVD. I believe you watched it on Netflix.
Yep.
I actually have this on DVD. I think it was inherited, so to speak. It was part of my stepdad's collection. I don't know if I'd ever watched it before. The DVD menu for this, being an early 2000s DVD, surprisingly restrained. I was expecting just chaos when I started this DVD. No, just a typical disc menu.
Every possible menu feature that got thrown in.
No, just very, very restrained disc menu, almost disappointingly so. So without any real news this week that pertains to any of these franchises that we love to discuss so much.
Other than The Rock running for president.
Other than The Rock possibly running for president, which we may have to campaign for here in the next couple years. We will probably just at this point jump right into the review, reaction, summary of this movie. So as always, as we have tended to do, we're going to let you take the wheel, sir, and I'll interject with things and we'll kind of try to just roll through this plot. So, Leif, take the wheel. XXX.
I think rolling through this plot is impossible. I am going to be driving the car over the exploding building through this plot.
Which many vehicles drove over many exploding buildings in this movie.
I'm beginning to sense that that's like a Vin Diesel theme. If he's in a movie that doesn't have a vehicle going over something blowing up, it's not a Vin Diesel movie.
Well, I have a note here, as I tend to like my notes. And it says something along the lines of, this movie likes to show its stunts about 20 different times.
Oh, yeah.
Like, if there's a motorcycle jumping over an exploding building, you're seeing it. And I think all this stuff looked practical. So maybe they just said, heck, we're doing it. Let's get it from 50 different angles. Because you get it from 50 different angles.
We're paying for the stunt. We're going to show the heck out of it.
Oh, yeah, which I kind of respect.
Oh, yeah. It's fine.
I saw it seemed like a lot of practical motorcycle jumps.
Actually brings me right into the plot.
Okay.
Directly.
Okay.
This talk. Because, so, movie opens up.
With an X.
Yeah,
opens up with an X that pans out into the scene at play. Kind of like the James Bond gun barrel. So I'll be very interested to see if any of these things that this movie does carries over to be signatures of like the series. Like, is the next one going to open up with an X that pans out?
Yeah, no, that would be. I hope so. It'd be awesome if there's also like a Vin Diesel kind of walking along it. But
Oh yeah.
that's just my James Bond Vin Diesel dreams. Anyway, so they're over in the Czech Republic.
Okay.
I think we don't know it's the Czech Republic. We just know Europe.
Yeah, we know they're in Europe.
Um,
At a nightclub.
yeah, and there's like kind of spy guy stuff.
It's James Bond.
Yeah, then like
they're taking like a dig at James Bond.
Yeah, a guy ends up rappelling off of something, and there's a fight.
Yeah, well, he goes into the nightclub.
Yeah, they're in the nightclub. They're in the nightclub rave.
Yeah, it's like a rave, which I thought was very clever of them to do, because there are places that no matter how good of a spy he was, James Bond would not fit in.
Yeah.
A casino, yes. A rave, no. So it's setting up this kind of clever idea that this is we need a different type of guy who's going to go in for these actions.
We need someone extreme.
We need somebody extreme. So James Bond, quote unquote, is at this rave.
Yeah. So he's trying to make his way through the crowd because he's running away from people at this point.
Yeah, he's running away from people, and it's like a concert, which is, I guess, a real band. I saw it on like the Wikipedia that this was actually a concert that they filmed, and then they interjected in this. I don't know who it was.
I missed the early 2000s rage music scene, so
yeah,
I'm blind on this.
We were listening to Sinatra and Dean Martin at that time.
Yeah,
which is not a joke.
Because for some reason that seemed like a good idea.
That's what we were listening to. A lot of Sinatra, a lot of Dean Martin, and some Johnny Cash, which you could be listening to worse things.
Yeah.
Like whatever this insane music was that was playing at the beginning of XXX. I'm starting to think that we made some correct choices for the first time in our lives at the beginning of this movie. So James Bond is trying to get to the stage.
Yeah.
And on the stage.
Yeah, for some reason. On the stage is the best place to be if you're running away.
When you're running away from snipers is the best place to be.
Yeah, so then we get to see the bad guy. He's up in the balcony, and he looks like kind of like an Aldi version of Bono.
Dude.
It kind of reminded me the whole time.
I loved this guy.
Oh, yeah, no. And I'll get to this, but this guy was awesome.
Martone, I made a point to go back this morning, even after the notes were done, and write this guy's name and try to look at his IMDb. And he was in all 3 Lord of the Rings movies as character. I don't know Lord of the Rings. Martin Kazkas? I don't know. But this guy, he did nothing else in his filmography except for Lord of the Rings stood out to me. I was like, oh yeah, I remember him in that. But we can talk more about performances later. But I love this dude. This guy was great.
So he calls his sniper.
Yeah.
And his sniper is like, I was drinking, or I don't know, he was doing something.
Is this the guy whose shtick is smoking?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so he pulls out his gun and is ready to snipe from the balcony, because this is clearly something they have to do often at this club.
Apparently.
And
is this the same club that they're always at?
Yes.
Okay, so this is his club. No, this is like a different club. This is like a concert venue.
Yeah, because they're in a balcony, not the den.
Yeah, anyway. Whatever they're in.
So they shoot the guy. They get whatever he was carrying on him. And
what was the MacGuffin of this? I don't think there was a MacGuffin. Well, there's a MacGuffin later.
Yeah.
But I don't think whatever James Bond guy was carrying at the beginning had anything to do with the rest of the movie. Other than he was investigating the 99 Anarchists or Anarchy 99.
Anarchy 99.
Okay, so he's investigating them is what we know.
So, yeah, he just shot. They get whatever device he has.
Yeah, they take a shot.
And Aldi Bono.
Yes.
Takes this like weird celebratory drink of absinthe.
Yeah.
And I bring this up only because this is 2002.
So that's what that was that he was drinking.
And this was right in the craze when absinthe was coming back, and there's this big push in the Czech Republic that we light our absinthe on fire and drink it.
Okay.
And that is not how you do any of this stuff. I'm going to nerd out here for a minute.
All right.
The proper way is you add the water. If you're crazy, you add some sugar. You drink it. No fires involved.
All right.
Unless you're an Aldi Bono, I guess.
All right.
But, okay. Anyway. Sorry. Segue.
Interesting to know, though.
No. Anyway.
And that's the end of that scene.
Yeah.
And then we get some weird, like, CGI-esque title sequence where they're going through tubes or something like that. And then we get headquarters, and a guy is telling another guy that James Bond is dead. and then enter Sam Jackson,
Yeah.
and he has an idea.
Yeah. So he, after introducing himself as Mr. Glass, no, that's not actually true. That's another movie. He basically does the like Dirty Dozen spiel of
Yeah.
we need to hire a bunch of criminals who we don't care about.
Yeah, they're
So that way,
expendable,
if they die, whoop-de-doo.
but they'll do things that maybe
Yeah, 'cause
someone with some kind of morality wouldn't do.
Yeah, because they're extreme.
Yeah, they're extreme.
So, and then I believe
And the guys that they show on the computer-wise doing this look like real criminals. That like, okay, these are criminals, not just an extreme sports athlete.
Except for then all of a sudden Vin Diesel's picture shows up.
Oh, does Vin Diesel's picture show up on the computer?
It does look like a mugshot. Now that I think about it.
All right.
But I don't know.
Well, he clearly is a guy who seems like he's probably gotten in some kind of trouble, but we'll get to that. So then that scene opens to Vin Diesel's entrance into the movie.
Yeah. So fancy club or something.
Yeah,
fancy,
like a country club. Yeah. Senator guy pulls up in a beautiful car. If I could say one thing about this.
Okay.
Senator guy pulls up in a beautiful car. Okay. And says racist, awful things to Vin Diesel, assuming that he's the valet. Mm-hmm. So then you see Vin Diesel, he steals his car. Mm-hmm. And you think, oh, this is justified. Like, Vin Diesel happened to be at this club. The guy saw him, saw his ethnicity, assumed he was the valet, said awful, terrible things to him. And so he's going to crash this guy's car just to teach him a lesson. Stereotypes, da-da-da-da. No, they had planned to steal this guy's car. Like, there's people in a van waiting for him.
Oh, yeah.
And as I'm watching it, I'm like, why? They have a van waiting for him down the road. Did they know he was going to steal this car? So now it's not like a Robin Hood just desserts thing, like teaching this guy a lesson for being racist. Well, now he's a jerk, but they're stealing his car.
Yeah, but you're missing the bigger point here. So, steals the car.
Attaches cameras to it on the side of the road.
Now, this is interesting for me because I was watching this and I missed that part where I knew they were doing something to it.
Yeah.
But then the next shot is him, like, looking at the passenger seat talking.
They don't show anything. They show him pull up to the van. They jump out of the van with some equipment, and the next shot is him coming around the corner, and you see there's stuff attached to it. So you didn't really miss anything.
No,
and he's talking.
And he's doing this big spiel about, it's about the senator voting that video games are evil.
Yeah, video games are evil. He wanted rap music. It's music, dick. Yeah. And they made the senator's name Richard or whatever just so they could have him calling him dick. They could throw in
as many dick references.
Yes.
And they played that.
Oh, big time.
Yeah.
Big time. And they made the character's name. It's not like they were referencing a real person in an autobiography named Rich and he gets called this. That was reverse engineered so they could just make that pun. Yeah. Multiple times. The best part about me was when he's like, this is the same guy who said he wanted to take every video game off the shelf because it was ruining the education of the youth. And then he says, and I have it here, that's the only education we got. We? You're 42 years old. Like, Vin Diesel in this movie already looks like he's what? Late 30s, mid 30s. Like, he's not the youth.
Oh no, but he learned a lot of life lessons from Pawn.
He's not the youth. So what he keeps referring to himself as, we're part of the youth of this country.
If you're extreme, you never grow old.
That's true.
You're young at heart.
If you're extreme at heart, you're never age a day. I think is a motto that most people know. So this leads to a stunt.
I want to backtrack for a minute here.
Okay.
So I started watching, and I'm like, he's talking into cameras.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, this is actually very forward thinking for GoPros right here.
Oh, okay.
Because think about it. Nowadays, you just would have like suctioned a few GoPros on there, and you'd have taken off.
Sure.
But now, back then, they had to like have cameras in like huge metal cases.
Yeah.
And like strap them on.
Strapped to the car.
And it just seemed a little intense, but it was also very interesting about the fact that they're videotaping this. This goes back into the stunts where they have 500 different things of
they show it
stunts.
like 70 different angles, which is driving a car off of a bridge and a guy, not spoilers, guy parachutes off of it. Mm-hmm. It was a cool stunt.
Yeah. So
it was pretty cool.
So yeah, he drives off a bridge now because...
And his buddies are there waiting to film it.
And they're all perched everywhere. but they somehow manage to come together and get down to the bottom of the ravine.
Yeah, you're right. That one guy was on top of the bridge filming.
Yeah.
Now, we forget to mention that the cops are in pursuit of them.
The cops are, like, right behind him, too.
There's, like, cops, yeah, they're right behind them. Like, in the chase part of it, there's literally cops 20 yards behind them. And they get to the bridge, and somehow there's no cops there. The cops show up after they're already have landed.
Yeah.
And they're down on there.
So, like, they land, and they're like, get the cameras. And so the car falls off a bridge.
Yes.
But the cameras are fine.
The cameras are
fine.
fine.
They were encased in tinfoil, I guess.
I guess, well, the car explodes, so you got to think that camera that was strapped to the hood is just shot.
Well, yeah, but maybe it's as extreme as...
And they speed off, and the cops go, well, there they go. I mean, we're not going to... They're down there.
Yeah.
There couldn't possibly be any cops down there on that road.
No.
Or anywhere near that road. So all of a sudden, next scene, it's nighttime.
Yeah, they're at bro quarters.
And yeah, Vin Diesel just shows up at home. It's been a long day of stealing cars and doing extreme stunts for social justice.
Somehow, same day, they've managed to edit that video and get it posted to...
Oh, yeah, because it's playing at the party that we're about to talk to.
Yeah, they got it posted to, like, 2002 internet.
It's playing at the party, which we assume, because this wouldn't be on the news unless they send footage to the news. But no, because she says I have an underground website.
Yeah.
The girl says she has an underground website. So
I imagine it's a GeoCities page at this point.
Backtracking, he turns on the lights, because at some point his friends have almost went their separate ways, and he's just doing whatever else he does with the rest of his day. Skateboarding or whatever. Maybe he went surfing. He comes back. Surprise! Vin Diesel shows no reaction to that there's 500 people in his house. He's just like, okay.
This makes sense. And, there's a guy skateboarding in his house.
There's a guy skateboarding in his house, which maybe that's just normal. Maybe this is just part of the lifestyle of the Xander Cage, that people are like the Great Gatsby of extreme sports. There's always just characters coming in and out of his house at all times. Then there's a series of what seem to be, and I could be completely wrong, but based upon their acting skills, he's got a bunch of bros coming up to him, making cameos. I assume those were early 2000s extreme sports stars.
They had to have been
They were somebody of note.
Yeah.
It wasn't just extras. It wasn't characters in the movie.
Because they
weren't actors.
They broed all over the place.
Yeah, they weren't actors.
Yeah.
They popped in for 30 seconds and were like, hey.
Yo.
And then the girl comes up who never shows up again in the entire movie. You think that this is like, okay, either maybe a love interest, or you think it's the female lead, or maybe if he's James Bond, this is his Moneypenny, kind of a home-based person.
No, yeah.
We never see her again. And I'm pretty sure that that's Eve, who was part of a rap group called the Rough Riders back in that time. I think she was a hip-hop star. I could be wrong. I should have looked that up. But she never shows back up.
No. Well, he completely abandoned his life and joined the spy world.
That's true.
So.
And then, surprise, surprise, to everybody, and I don't know why, because you posted this online, the cops show up at the house.
Well, they don't just show up. They bust in.
They bust in.
I mean, they're as extreme as old
But maybe now that I think about it, not the cops. Would have been Sam Jackson's outfit. Authorities.
Yeah.
The authorities bust in. And then he has a couple little lines in this. And comparing this to what we've seen in Fast and Furious 8 and Fast and Furious 7, which for anybody who's listened, or this is their first time listening, we've done both of those movies. We're working our way backwards through those. Where he's so stoic and almost so dry. Vin Diesel has some personality in this.
Yeah.
He's got some charisma. He's actually giving some line readings rather than mumbling. And I did love when he just says it was only a Corvette. Or it was just a Corvette.
It's just a Corvette.
It's just a Corvette. I'll turn the music down. There's multiple times in this where the writers are like, we need a zinger in here. And they couldn't agree on which one to use.
Yeah.
So they're like, I think we should say, I'll turn the music down. No, what if he said it was only a Corvette?
I believe the script would read, Cage continues to be loudmouth.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's just a lot of, like, where he's just, like, throughout the whole movie, ad-libbing.
He just
like, on
never
that plane
shuts
scene. Yeah, that plane scene that we'll get to. He's, like, he makes, like, 4 different jokes, like, referencing that it's a commercial flight. Like, where's my peanuts?
Yeah.
Hey, can you get the stewardess? What, we're not serving coffee on this flight? Yeah. Like, you could do one of those.
And what
and
was
people would get the point.
Was the fact that no one else in the scene was actually, like, acknowledging that he was talking.
And as the scene would progress and there would be cuts to when they're about to fly out the back of it, and we're getting way ahead, he's still like riffing. You can still hear it, but it's like, no, I think that part's over. Like, pick one of them.
Well, it's like when you're desperate, you have that good line, and you're desperate for someone to notice it, so you just kind of keep on saying it.
Yeah, you just keep saying it. It's like, no one else is making a joke about the fact that it's not like a United Airlines flight to, like, San Antonio, man. Like, we got it the first time.
Yeah.
But we're passing over a great scene, the diner scene. Yeah, he wakes up, he's in a diner.
So he's at the bro quarters. He gets shot with a weird little tranquilizer dart.
Yeah.
Wakes up at a counter of a diner.
He's at the counter of a diner.
And
says 2 guys dropped you off here, the waitress.
Yeah. And then, she like kind of looks all worried, and he's like, "What's going on?" And he gets the tip, like, okay, something's amiss here. And then
she motions like with her eyes to the guy next to him at the counter.
So you realize, and you don't have to think too much, because very quickly then they start to try to rob the place.
Yeah.
And immediately
he puts him down.
Yeah, he streams out all over him.
He extremes out. He puts him down.
And then Samuel L. Jackson is sitting over there just like, ha ha ha.
Which I don't think we see him sitting there, because that would have given it away.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think there's an establishing shot where you see
he just shows up in the booth.
He's just sitting in a booth. Which,
on a side note, so during the fight,
yes,
the one poor guy just his head slammed into a coffee pot.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, there's glass everywhere.
Yeah.
And then when you find out that this was just a test.
This was a test.
I'm thinking to myself, did the one guy who now has to pick glass out of his eyeball, did he know that this is...
Well, and how many times did they do this? Because, like, Sam Jackson says it's always the jerks or whatever who pass the test. And the next scene, when you cut to him with the plane with other guys who have passed the test, there's like 3 or 4 of them. So is there like 2 guys who continuously have to get beat up to like prove a point? Like,
that's what Vin Diesel says. He's like, "You guys been to a diner recently?"
Yeah,
and they're like,
they're all part of the test. So yeah, that leads me to believe, like, are these just poor guys who they get the crap beat out of them every day because as they're testing thugs? But this brings me to one of my favorite parts of this entire movie. All right, when Samuel L. Jackson is like, "Well, how did you know?" Vin Diesel pulls a Sherlock.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I'm thinking, because he's like, well, that guy right there is reading the financial report on a Sunday and the markets are closed. And this waitress, he completely pulls a Benedict Cumberbatch Sherlock.
Oh, yeah.
He lists off a bunch of stuff that he knows in Thursday. No waitress like that would wear high heels. And if that's not real, then none of this is real. And I'm thinking to myself, did the show Sherlock steal their whole concept from this seated XXX? Because it's completely like he breaks down the whole thing like Sherlock. And so, nice little scene there. And we cut to the scene that we had kind of referenced already.
Yeah, so he gets shot by
by a dart again.
And he wakes up on the plane.
And they are where? Drug country.
Yeah. So they...
South America, wherever.
So what was confusing was, there's soldiers on the plane, and you show there's like this establishing scene of them getting all camoed up.
Yeah, they're getting ready.
All this stuff. But then they kick them out of the plane.
Yeah, they kick them out of the plane by flying at a very, very low altitude.
Over a runway.
Engaging a parachute.
Yeah.
And the other guys are like, wait a second. Whoa, what's going on? But Vin Diesel immediately knows what's going on. Because he's so quick. He looks around for 30 seconds.
And
sees the guys are laughing. Realizes he's attached to a parachute.
Using his Sherlock...
He's using his Sherlock skills. And then he says, I live for this.
Yeah.
He's flung off of the plane. Which looked like it really was real. Again, it looked like it was a practical stunt. And they land in like a poppy field or something.
It's a cocaine.
A cocaine plant field or whatever.
Yeah, because the guy's like, we're in Colombia.
Yeah, we're in Colombia. And he starts tearing plants off and shoving them in his pockets.
Yeah, because he's going to sell the leaves.
He's going to sell the leaves. Or somehow get back to the States and somehow process it. I don't know how cocaine is made. I don't care to know. But I don't think a random guy with just a pocket full of leaves and stems is really going to do much when he gets home with it.
Yeah, are they going to... I mean, there's so many issues with that, but...
Thugs show up.
Yeah, thugs.
And the other guys
try to run.
But Vin Diesel thinks that this is just another...
Yeah, using his Sherlock skills, he realizes that this is still a test.
He thinks it is.
Yeah.
And I am unclear of whether it was or not, to tell you the truth, but we'll get into that.
And he gets, busted in the head by, Bandit.
Yeah, what appears who you think is going to be, and again, just like how we met his money penny, we think that we've met the henchman of this, like his Jaws or his Odd Job. It's this guy with gold teeth.
Yeah, because they have the giant gold teeth.
Yeah, they make you a point to show these gold teeth. He shows up again, but I think, okay, this is going to be a reoccurring, like he's going to keep running into this guy with gold teeth. No. So he's strung up. Yeah. And an actor who was famous, but I can't think of his name.
Danny Trejo?
Yeah, Danny Trejo shows up, and they think that this is all a gag.
Yeah, so they're like joking and being all...
And not funny jokes either.
Oh, no, it's just...
You're short.
Continuing with the loudmouth.
Yeah, continuing with the loudmouth, like, we're going to do 5 lines where one could have done. He calls him short. Says he needs a haircut. And the other guys are, like, laughing hilarious. This is hilarious to them. And he goes, you need a haircut. And then, like...
This is basically, like being bullied in high school. Yeah. Like, it's like, this is the type of crap that, like, the bros would do.
Yeah. And so he punches him a couple times, and Vin Diesel's like, man, you better be getting paid a lot for this, because when I get down here, I'm going to beat the life out of you. Yeah. Or whatever. And then I thought it was clever, and I'll let you reveal it. Vin Diesel, the XXX character, is actually intelligent, and he does some clever things in this movie, and he realizes that this is not fake because...
Yeah, well, okay, so leader of the bandits...
Yeah.
Gets goes to his torture table and grabs the machete.
Gets a machete.
And he's threatening all of them, and they're still joking at this point.
They're still joking.
But, at one point then, he holds the thing up to Vin Diesel's nose.
Yeah, he says, I'm going to cut your nose off first.
And then Vin Diesel's all like, oh, she's like, it smells like real blood. Yeah.
I thought that was a clever way for him to realize that, wait a second. Yeah. That smells like real blood.
So then he knows it's time to throw down.
It's time to throw down. He... does some action man stuff. Yeah. And then we erupt into a huge...
The helicopters show up.
Confusing...
Battle.
Insane battle. Yeah, that's a good word for it. It was a battle. Helicopters
show up and just start shooting everything.
And it turns out that this is Sam Jackson's people?
No, it's the Colombian army.
Oh, it's the Colombian army.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right, because... I have a note here that says big, huge shootout, not sure why. So maybe coincidence that Vin Diesel just happened to be there.
See, and I'll get to that because I remember this because the whole time I'm thinking, this is ridiculous because none of this...
Oh, yeah.
None of this makes sense.
There's so much going on.
Yeah, people are getting shot left and right.
There's explosions, there's
Danny Trejo gets blown up in a Ford Explorer, I think.
Do they show him get it?
Yeah, he gets into the Explorer, and then the Explorer blows up.
There's a line in this that is one of my favorite lines of the entire movie. And it's when Vin Diesel is on a motorcycle, which there's an extended motorcycle sequence where he jumps over multiple buildings that explode. Yeah. Everything is a ramp, and I'm thinking this whole movie... And this happens again. They keep making ramps for him. And I'm like, stop making ramps for him.
This whole movie is a vehicle for him jumping over things.
Yeah, it's like, please stop. Don't make him a ramp of any kind. He's going to use it against you. But this is hilarious.
I have never seen as many ramps in my life as I have seen in that movie.
Everything is a ramp. They're chasing him. He's on the motorcycle at this point, and as part of that Colombian army, and they're in the helicopter, and one guy yells... And they give you the subtitles, all right? And this is great. I don't know if you know where I'm going with this, but he goes, the guy on the bike, that's the drug lord. And I'm thinking to myself, is this drug lord they're after well known for riding bikes? Like, why would you immediately assume that's him right there, the guy on the bike? Why? Why is that him?
And also, he looked nothing like the actual drug lord.
Nothing. The guy on the bike. That's the drug lord. Get him. Not my favorite line. We saved that toward the end. There was a line in here that actually had me laugh out loud later in the movie that I just can't get away at this point. But then we have...
before he got on the bike, he was running out with the one... I want to bring this because we missed it.
Yes.
And it was great. So they're leaving the building that's getting blown up.
The 3 guys.
And one of them's wounded.
Yes.
And for some reason. And the other guy just runs out of there with a giant,
he's got like a brick
I mean, this thing was huge, of cocaine.
And he's like, every man for himself.
Yes, every man for himself. And then he runs off, and that's the last time we see him.
We never see that guy again.
So I want to know what happened to this guy. Like,
you want to see a movie about that guy. What happened to him? Stuck in the middle of hostile territory, surrounded by drug lords, gangsters, the Colombian army, with a big brick of cocaine in the jungle. Yeah, what is he doing? I'm sure he just got scooped up by Sam Jackson. But important that you did go back to that, and I'm glad you did. Vin Diesel shows compassion.
Yeah.
He's trying to get to this guy who's injured. So he gets on the motorcycle, and I guess he ends up back where he started, because I'm like, well, how did he end up back to that? He seems to just make a big circle.
Well, he jumped through the fence.
Yes, he jumps through the fence.
And then
he jumps over a building.
Of the camp.
Then he jumps through a fence.
Then he jumps back into
the camp.
And there's another couple jumps in there.
Well, there's the big jump where he uses the tin roof as a thing, and then they try to shoot him, but they explode the building, which I think all the drugs were in.
Everyone had to be completely high out of their minds at this point.
And then he, as he's falling, he turns his bike and slides it into a sewer, and then they don't see him anymore.
Yeah.
And they show that jump from 20 different angles. Not to beat a dead horse, but it's ironic that we're going to mention it 20 times, because they do. It's
he manages
this angle, that angle, next angle.
Oh, the other angle.
Overhead.
Yeah. Yeah,
they showed that explosion. They were proud of that set piece.
Oh, yeah.
It was cool. I think they jumped a bike over a real exploding building. It didn't look like CGI. They looked like they really did it.
He gets back to his
buddy.
New friend.
Who he really cares about. This guy that he's known for 20 minutes.
Yeah, well, they're bonded through the extreme.
Yeah, they're bonded through extreme, and they're in the same situation. The other guy is gone.
Yeah.
And then, commando dudes in bushes pop up.
Immediately. Because they've been there the whole time.
They've been there the whole time.
That's when Samuel L. Jackson shows... Or no, the other guy is like, we knew the Colombian army was going to hit this place. That's why we did this.
Yeah, so again, it was a test.
Apparently.
It was a weird test that was real, though.
Yeah.
It's we're going to put you in the crap, and we're going to see how you do. So it wasn't staged like the diner, but it was something that they kind of were paying attention. Cuts to the next morning. Vin Diesel's handcuffed, leaning against a building. Sam Jackson pops up, and I like the chemistry between Sam Jackson and Vin Diesel. And Vin Diesel, untie me so I can beat the whatever out of you.
Yeah. And
they have a good rapport. And then we get basically Sam Jackson is offering him the position.
He's doing the thing. He's doing
the thing. He's making the pitch.
Gonna send you back. You go back. You're going to jail, or you can do this.
Well, it was hilarious because Vin Diesel goes, he's like, you don't have anything on me. I was like, really?
Yeah.
He doesn't have anything on you. And Sam Jackson's like, no, let me list the clear amount of things that you could go to jail for. Stealing cars.
At the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, blowing things up, crashing them off bridges.
Doing this all on video.
We have you. And then they say where he gets his name, XXX. He has 3 X's tattooed on the back of his neck.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know why.
No.
Just so they can say XXX, because 3 strikes, you're out.
Mm-hmm.
You can go to jail, or you can, which is that is like a Suicide Squad Dirty Dozen thing.
Yeah.
You can go to jail, or you can do this. So I should call you X. I'll call you XXX. And later on in the movie, his friends call him X anyway. Yeah. So he has this tattoo, reverse engineered, and he agrees. They have a nice little exchange about, I'm sure that gives you comfort every time you see your scarred up face, and he's like, I did what I had to do for my country to put boots in butts or something like that. Yeah. And he gives him the option. You can either be on a plane in an hour, or you can be in a prison cell. And Vin Diesel is not a moron, so cuts to the next scene. He's on a plane going to
Prague,
or wherever they're at.
Czech Republic.
And he meets, when he's there, this police detective.
Yeah, I mean, it's typical grimy.
Yeah.
Undercover detective guy.
And the
Ivans.
He meets the Ivans. He meets this detective guy. I don't know the detective's name. And the detective gives him a little spiel about, this is what we're going to do. We're going to go to this club tonight. We're chasing after this guy that we have suspicion on. His name is Yorgi. Yorgi.
Let's go with that.
We're going to go see Yorgi, and we're going to check out this club. This is where all the rich and powerful yet criminals hang out. Let's go see what we can find. And Vin Diesel immediately sells this cop out. He just goes right up to York and says, "Hey, I want to buy cars."
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like, well, because he's no nonsense. He's not doing any of this stuff.
He goes right up to whatever.
You see this rule book? Yeah. I'm throwing this rule book out the window.
He's throwing out the rule book. They're at the bar, and Vin Diesel's like, we can't, let's not act like we know each other.
Yeah.
So Vin Diesel walks in. The detective walks in 3 steps behind him.
Oh, yeah.
And then they sit down at the bar together and start talking. So not doing a good job. Not doing a good job of pretending like they're not there or that they know each other. They walk in together talking.
And then
sit down and start talking.
Then, Vin Diesel goes off to
he just bursts up there. And they have the proper reaction. They're like, get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
Where are you?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, you're kicking me out, but I guess you don't mind having cops here.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, they're like, who's a cop? This guy.
He throws the dude under the bus.
They bring him up, and I'm thinking, Vin Diesel just get this guy killed?
Yeah, this.
And the guy's hilarious. He's like, I'm ordering my drink. I'll leave a good tip. Like, he's like so stupid. It's like bumbling.
What's wrong with this?
I've ordered my drink. I leave good tips. And they bring him up and they search him, and he's got a badge. And they're like, how did you know? And he's like, oh, I saw his badge when he was paying for his drink. Smart. Yeah. And now they trust Vin Diesel.
They immediately trust him because
and he wants cars.
Yeah.
And this is the bait and switch, I guess, that they set up, is that Vin Diesel was going to infiltrate this by pretending to be a guy who wants to buy cars. Even though Vin Diesel in this universe, Xander Cage, is famous.
Yes.
Because they recognize him. They go, oh, you're Xander Cage.
The one guy.
We're huge fans of yours.
Yeah, because he's even like that guy. That's how the guy's like in his weird broken English. Xander Zone.
Yeah, Xander Zone. And so I guess maybe that adds to his credibility, that they would trust him more because they know he's kind of an outlaw. They know he's against the man. So maybe he really would want to buy these cars.
It's just odd that he would show up randomly in crowd wanting to buy.
Yeah, that he would show up and want to randomly buy cars. So they kick the cop out, and they're sitting up there. Yeah. And Yorgi, my favorite character in this movie, we're introduced to him and his philosophies. Mm-hmm. Now time for fun. Now, we do talk a little bit, especially because you can't talk about these movies, Fast and the Furious, or these XXX movies without discussing this. If you had a problem with the role of women in the Fast and Furious movies,
oh yeah,
this is not the movie for you. We don't use a lot of profanity on this podcast, but unless I'm quoting a line, I'll use it. There's literally a guy who goes, "Time to party," and a guy opens the door and goes, "Bitches, come!" And a line of women come in the room.
The line of prostitutes.
Yeah, a line of prostitutes come in. And the interaction with the main girl, which I don't know the character's name. I don't know if they say the character's name. But her and Vin Diesel, I'm sure they do. Elena?
Something with an E.
Yeah. Elena. We'll go with Elena. Her and Vin Diesel have their beginning rapport. And again, and I hate to bring this up again, Vin Diesel gets 5 lines where one could have done.
Oh, yeah.
I guess you can chisel some ice off your heart for my drink if you can find your heart. With this money, I'm going to buy you some charm lessons. And they have a very poor exchange where she's, 3 syllables. Does your brain hurt? And it's like, oh, gosh.
You are that annoying guy. Vin, like, you don't be that guy.
It's like, do you know what a routing number is? And then he's like, shouldn't you be somewhere... like cooking something, or like can you leave and let the big boys talk?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, what is this?
Oh yeah.
And then so they make their plan, all right. And the next morning, Vin Diesel is laying in bed, and he gets a call from Sam Jackson.
Yeah. On his awesome weird little video phone.
Yeah, on their like weird little video phone, and then he gets up. He's like, oh, I got lots of stuff for you. And that brings us to, hands down, the real star of this movie. It's not Vin Diesel. It's not Yorgi. It's not Sam Jackson. The real star of this movie is his coat. There are entire scenes dedicated to this coat. He has, and the reason I bring it up is because he gets on the computer and he's like, I got some information for you, boss. I got the routing number. But he's like, hold on a second. and he takes a beat to put the coat on.
Well, because he's in his underwear.
Okay, so he's in his underwear. But
So,
even before this, going back,
presumably he's cold.
I guess he's cold.
And then he stands there on the phone. I'm cutting you off, and I apologize.
That's fine, man.
But I was amazed by this. He's standing there talking, like with his hand on his hip.
Yes.
The coat's there.
The coat
just
is
completely open. So he's sitting there all, muscly Vin Diesel in his underwear. And it's just like, what is going on with this scene? Is it something for the ladies? Because we just made fun of them in the last one.
He really... You can tell that the character of Xander Cage really cares about this coat. And that the filmmakers really care about this coat. Jumping back to the scene at the bar... There's a useless, scene where he's trying to do a coat check.
Yeah,
he's very concerned about the coat.
Can I put this coat behind the bar?
Can I put this coat behind the bar? And they're like, no. And then he's like, well, where do I put the coat? And then a random girl comes up.
Takes the coat.
She takes the coat. He's like, do I get a ticket for my coat? Hey, wait a second. Do I get a ticket for my coat? It's like, why is this? He's very concerned.
I don't understand because, my misspent youth in bars, seen lots of bars. I have never once saw anyone put their coat behind a bar.
No, why would you think...
Except for maybe if you're like a regular and you know the bartender and you're like, hey man, I get drunk here all the time.
The coat is great. And the coat is so important that just from watching the trailer for XXX3, the coat's there. He's wearing the coat. The coat is very important to this man. Well, he loves the coat.
And what's amazing to me too is that's the coat of a man who's living in a post-apocalyptic universe.
It's a great coat.
You're wearing that coat as you stand on top of your war car to attack the other tribe.
For anybody who hasn't seen this, and I would assume that you have, but you can at least Google a picture. It's like a suede coat.
We'll have to post a picture of it.
We'll have to post a picture of the coat on our Twitter. It's like a suede coat that goes down to maybe just underneath the knee. Yeah. With just like a
ginormous collar. Just like sheepskin?
Like sheepskin, yeah. And a fur collar that like comes around and goes up on the neck to where maybe it would go up past your earlobe and come like halfway down to your pecs. It's not a coat that anybody would wear as just a normal, oh, hey, I need to run out to the store, man. We're out of milk. What? It's so cold out. I'm going to grab my coat. I don't know where you would wear this. It's not a normal man's coat.
It's like you can tell, so far I've been able to tell in Fast and Furious, you can tell the importance of the scene by how often it shows them shift the car.
Yes.
You can tell how important the scene is in this movie by how often he has the coat on.
I love the coat.
If the coat is on, something's going to happen.
And then there's a nice little line in here that he says, and I wrote this down because I'm like, that's a good line. He says, if you're going to send someone to save the world, make sure they like it the way it is. And I was like, that's almost a little, I like I said in the previous podcast, I don't think that, that's smarter than it deserves to be. That's a kind of heavy concept that should be in a much smarter movie that really explored that, hey, if you're sending someone in to save the way of life, the status quo, what if that person didn't like the status quo? Are you risking everything by sending that person in to defend it? And it's immediately it's a line that
we don't have time.
We don't have time to get into that. It was a little smarter because we are off to see Q.
Yeah.
We've seen his Money Penny, we've seen his Odd Job, and now we're off to see his Q. I don't know what this character's name is. He's Q. It's a scene where he's going to get his gadgets.
Bro Q.
Yeah, and he's like walking with them, and I kind of like. It's a little bit of exposition because he's kind of explaining as they walk what's happened in the movie. Like, you've done this and this. I sat in a basement for 6 years developing dart guns, and you're out in the field after 3 days. And Xander Cage, and then he gets a super gun. Yeah. With just lots of kind of darts.
Oh yeah, that
was kind of goofy.
Yeah, because it was all souped up, and really, I guess the only thing that made it super was the fact that there's darts, because nothing else.
It's got special darts. Like, this dart is a fake blood dart, because you would need that. This dart, it did a lot of things that James Bond does with Q scenes, where we're going to reverse engineer. I'm using that term a lot, but spy movies do that. James Bond gets the gadgets that he's going to need for the set pieces later in the movie. Oh, yeah. So if Pierce Brosnan is going to be in an avalanche ski chase, then they write the Q scene to say, okay, we know we're doing a set piece where he's going to be in an avalanche ski chase. What can we give him for that? Let's give him a coat that turns into an igloo. Do you remember that?
No, I haven't seen.
Yeah, let's give him a coat that he pulls a strap on it and it turns into a big inflatable igloo. And then, okay, now when we go to Q, let's write the Q scene. Okay, da-da-da. Here's the igloo coat. And that's what this was.
Yeah.
He gets this weird, like, looks like a Nerf gun.
Yeah.
Just a big commando Nerf gun. The gun is absurd. I'm not going to say that this movie's anywhere near grounded in reality, but this gun was goofy looking aesthetically, even for this movie. He's got
pistol.
blood darts. He's got go-to-sleep darts, which the guy is like, these will make you feel terrible. And he's like, I've been shot with those twice. Nice little moment. He gets his thing. He doesn't get his car because he gets his car in the next scene.
Yeah, and he gets the weird bandages that have.
Oh yeah, he gets the explosion bandages,
which I don't even understand because those you could have given him explosives in any way that would have tied into something applicable.
Well, maybe
bandages don't show up in this movie at all.
No, but maybe they assume that if he got searched, people would be like, "Well, yeah, of course this guy has bandages. He's a skateboarder. He's always getting hurt." I just thought of that. I mean, I'm stretching with that one. But then he says, "You don't want to be anywhere near this. This will do this, and these are huge explosives." And then the guy's like, he stands right in front of him.
He's literally in front of the explosion.
In front of the explosion and blows up a file cabinet and a desk.
Things are going everywhere.
Shards are everywhere. And he's like, I always wanted to say this. And I'm like, this was terrible line delivery. And I'm not going to jump all over acting performance in XXX. But he's like, I've always wanted to say this. And instead of being like, fire in the hole, he's just like, fire in the hole. It's like, you've always wanted to say it, and that's the way you delivered it. So we're on to it. We're barreling through this.
We got our
and
stuff.
We're off to see Yorgi, and Yorgi's got the cars.
Yep. So there's the odd tension initially because they're
waiting for the money.
They're waiting for the money, and Elena's like, no, the money hasn't been transferred.
Yeah.
And then Vin Diesel shows up, and so they immediately go down there like, basically, where's my money at?
Where's the money?
And then
the money comes through.
Immediately.
And she gives the money sign, and for what you guys can't see, I'm rubbing my thumb against my two fingers. Not a thumbs up. Not like an okay, like A-okay. But she gives the money symbol.
Like we have the money now.
But that could have just as easily been like, where's the money? Like, I thought it was a weird, how does he know? They're like, hey, we don't have the money up here. And then Vin Diesel's like, did you think I wasn't good for it? And he's like, ah. And then they give him his car. Because he says that he needs 9 cars and the 10th one is for him.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful car.
Yeah, so it's a GTO.
Is it the same car that he drives in? Does he drive that in Fast and Furious?
I don't think so.
No, he drives a Charger.
Yeah.
So he gets a beautiful car.
It's purple.
It's purple. And they get in there and
immediately
they're buds.
Mm-hmm.
These guys like each other.
Oh, yeah.
And I think Xander Cage, actually, before we get into the further development of what this guy is up to, you get the sense that Xander Cage likes Yorgi. Yeah. Yorgi's awesome.
Yeah.
He's like, everything is good with enough vodka, my friend. Now we party. Yorgi wants to get business out of the way, and he wants to go to his club, or what we find out is his castle.
Yeah.
And he just wants to party. So then we have Clouseau, bumbling detective, trying to wipe through a dirty window like a skylight, like Batman would fall through with his coat.
Immediately, the whole layer of windows, the whole
not just that window.
Yeah, all the windows fall out.
All the windows in the entire place fall out across the whole roof, fall in on top of all the cars. And you see him, he's running. He realizes what he's done.
Yeah.
They look up. He's running out like a catwalk to get out of there. And both of them assume what you would assume.
Yeah.
Hey, what's going on here?
Mm-hmm.
Who's this guy with you? And they pointing guns at each other.
Yeah.
He's like, you got snipers up there? And the guy's like, no, we don't have snipers up there. That guy's clearly with you. He's not with us. Which is what a logical person would think. And then Vin Diesel's like, no, he's not with me. And the guy goes, oh, yeah, well, I guess he's with neither of us.
Yeah, they're like, okay.
I believe you. You believe me. Let's kill him together.
So they hop into the GTO.
They hop into the car.
They ride on the bumbling detective.
Yeah, they chase him out, and Vin Diesel is he's about to get shot by Yorgi.
Yeah,
and Vin
Diesel's like, oh no, I can't do this.
Yeah,
and he spins the car and makes a perfect chest shot. Well, back to the back shot
With the
his
fake blood dart.
Fake blood dart, which he managed to like get situated.
I was about to say, did he already have that loaded? But no, I guess they do show him like fiddling with it, like at the side of his seat, and drops them. And Yorgi is like, the girl drives by and she sees, and she looks disappointed, which we'll find out why she looks disappointed later. And Yorgi like looks at the cop, and the cop is laying there. And I guess maybe I think they said it's enough impact to hurt, so maybe did this just knock the wind out of the cop? Did it knock him out? Like, they look at him, and he's like, okay.
And then
we're not going to check on this. There's blood. This guy got shot in the back. So you got to get out of there. So I don't fault the movie for not checking to see if the guy was dead. You would just get out of there. You just saw the guy get shot in the back. Then we get back to the castle. He's earned their trust now.
Yeah, now he killed a cop, so
they're in it together. And they say something like that, like, oh, you are... He says something like you're truly committed, or something like that. I can't remember exactly what he says.
No, was what was it? Oh, well, never mind.
Like something along the lines of like some people really throw themselves into something, and you really throw yourselves into the fire or something like that. He's not messing around.
Is that when he throws down with the Anarchy 99?
Yeah, he starts to talk about Anarchy 99. They go back to the nightclub. And there's a scene where Vin Diesel is kind of like, hey, he's talking to the main female lead. And he's like, are you Yorgi's woman? And he's like, she's like, for the right price, I can be your woman too. And Yorgi's like, make sure he has a good time, da-da-da.
Yeah, he drops all of the like, I'm your pimp sort of words.
And they get back to the castle.
Yeah.
And they say, like, the owner's left. And it's chaos here. There's people in pools. There's people everywhere. Yorgi's life is a constant party.
Yeah.
And they have the talk about Anarchy 99. These were former Russian soldiers who realized that they were dying for a corrupt system. So to honor their fallen brothers, they decided that they're going to live their life every day to the fullest the way that they want to live it.
Yeah.
Which involves crime, but at the same time, it seems like this is kind of just, even if they weren't criminals, it seems like part of their core concept of their group is do whatever you want to do. That's the only way to have absolute freedom.
Yeah. And crime just so happens to fund it.
And crime funds it, and crime comes with it in a big way, as we find out very soon. So they go back to the castle.
Mm-hmm.
We're at the castle. And we get to the part of the movie that I hated. Like, they're all going to bed for the night. They do their stuff all night.
Yeah.
And they sleep all day. Okay, plays into the plot fairly soon. We find out what he meant when he said make sure that he has a good time. They have some more quipping like, do you want to tuck me in? And she's like, quip, 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 quip. And he opens the door, and we basically have an extended
she leaves. She bails.
She leaves, because he's going to bed. She shows him to his room.
Yeah, and she's like, heck with all this crap.
Yeah. And we open the door and have just an extended... I'm not a prude.
Apparently they knew that she was going to bail, because they had, like, backup prostitute there.
Yeah. I think that's what he meant when he said find someone for him to have fun. And then we just get this extended, like, this music starts playing... And he's in the coat still at this point, right? Yeah. He's wearing the coat. And we see just this weird, and I'm not a prude and whatever, but we just see this weird pole dancing scene.
It's just out of place. It's like, okay, we need to have some TNA here.
Yeah, and that's not anywhere in the rest of the movie.
I mean, there's scantily clad women.
Yeah, there's like in the club and at the house.
This was like that. This was like, here we go. This is
a pole dance scene where she's dancing on this bed and she's gyrating, and like, Vin Diesel's leering at her, of course, and then he says the classic, "The things I'm gonna do for my country," and then of course we assume that he sleeps with this woman, but there's no real sex scenes in this movie. No. And thinking back to it, and I don't want to spoil anything yet. But there's no real repercussions of, like, physical damage being done to a human. I want to look at we're not going to do it now, but I don't think this was rated R. I think this was probably PG-13. Because even as you show people about to be exploded, like when he shoots the guy at one point who's, like, up in the air, you just see the bike fall down on fire. You don't see a lot of, like, actual violence. So I would assume this was probably PG-13. Even the language, there's no F-bombs.
No.
What do you think this was rated? It wasn't R. I think if it was R, there would be F-bombs and you'd see guys getting shot and there would have been a sex scene.
Yeah.
So that's besides the point. There you have that weird scene. It cuts to in a very, 1940s way. He kisses the woman and then it just pans and it's the next morning. And he is walking through the house and she is just out in the open.
Yeah.
What were you going to say?
Well, no. He walks through the house, sneakily.
He walks through the house sneakily, as sneaking as you can walk through a house in broad daylight.
Well, yeah, but I mean...
I guess that's their nighttime.
He's deliberately being
Yeah, he's just taking a stroll. And he stumbles upon female lead, Elena, or whatever we decided her name was. Mm-hmm. And she is taking pictures of a safe. And she must know that no one else is going to be around in this house because she's just out and about. And he catches her and she knows that she's caught and he realizes something is up. So he pretty much opens up to her immediately.
Yeah.
And they have a very dangerous conversation out loud just in the open of the house, hoping that nobody just happens to be going to the bathroom or basically oh, yeah, you're undercover? Yeah, I'm undercover too. Hey, you want to go get something to eat and we could talk about how we're undercover and both trying to bring down Yorgi? Yeah, we might as well do that. They go to what?
But then at that point, there's that cut scene of Yorgi getting a phone call.
Which we find out, I guess, is from the detective.
Oh, okay. So the detective. I was wondering who that was.
Yeah, because remember, we'll get to it, but later on.
Yeah.
So then I didn't put that together until later on in the movie. That must have been the detective that called. So Yorgi gets the phone call.
Yeah.
I love Yorgi.
Oh, yeah.
I want to see a whole movie just about Yorgi. And they're at this restaurant.
They find out that Vin Diesel's a spy.
Yeah, we know that he's a spy. And he's immediately able to send the sniper smoking guy to the restaurant and get him set up.
Oh, yeah.
They just know where he's at. I don't know how they know where he's at.
They know exactly where he's at, but they apparently weren't able to detect the conversation he was having in their own lair.
So they're having lunch, and she's like, oh, this and this. And he's like, why are you with this guy? Oh, I got stuck here. But no big reveal on her yet. Yeah. But he freely gives up the fact that he's a spy.
He's like, I'm a spy.
He's like, I'm a spy. Right. I can get you out of this. I'm here for this. I can tell. Your eyes give it away. He's pulling his Sherlock stuff again. Oh, by the way, that cop's not really dead. And he has one of the darts in his pocket. He's like, it was one of these blood darts. I could tell by how you looked at me when you drove by at 40 miles an hour that there was disappointment in your eyes. You act tough, but you're not. And she's like, okay, yeah, you're a spy, sure. She laughs at it. He gets frustrated that he's embarrassed that she doesn't believe that he's a spy.
Yeah.
And she goes, well, look at you. Look at your tattoos and look how you act. And this doesn't make any sense because we find out later, whatever, spoiler alert, she's an undercover cop. So why would she be surprised that there might be somebody else undercover who maybe doesn't necessarily look like a cop or a spy? Yeah. Whatever. But she gets a phone call from Cigarette Guy. And Cigarette Guy is on the roof and he's like, hey,
yeah, take him out front so
Triple X is a spy. Take him out front so I can shoot him. And then he says, well, if we go out front, I'm going to get killed. If I go out the back, they're going to know you warned me. So I'm going to come up with a big elaborate scheme that will basically show pretty well that you warned me. I'm gonna cause a big fuss. Did they show his reason for causing a fuss?
Well,
he just knocks a tray out of a waiter's hand.
Well, that's the thing. But he and Elena, he uses Elena as a bodyguard for his coat. I think.
I think he does. Yeah. Yes, his coat.
Keeping her in front of him the whole time, and then knocks the tray out of a guy's hand for some reason.
Oh, he's gonna use the tray as a shield.
Yeah, but
my point being is that just proves that she tipped him off. The only way not to prove that he wasn't tipped off is if they just walked out the front door and he got shot. Causing a big scene and running out the front door with a big steel tray in front of you proves that you know there's a sniper up there.
And he's using it to blind the sniper.
He's using it to blind the sniper. He knows exactly where he's at. The gig is up. And the only reason we find out that she wasn't killed because of this, her cover's blown. But we find out that Yorgi has always known she's an undercover cop.
Yeah.
And part of his joy in this whole thing is getting her to do stuff that he knows is against her moral code because he's just toying with her like a cat and a mouse. So then he meets Gibbons.
He is ultimate evil.
That was enough. The guy took the 2 shots and it's like, wow. As in many times in this movie, we're not putting much more effort into this.
I'd have to relocate.
Yeah, he meets Gibbons at an opera.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a note, meeting in theater with Gibbons, which tells me that Samuel L. Jackson's character's name is Gibbons, which I had completely forgotten about until I just read that note. And the guy's like, yeah, the gig is up, your cover's blown.
Yeah, you gotta leave.
You gotta go, dude. This is, it's useless now. They know who you are. And he's like, no, we gotta get Elaine out of there. And Sam Jackson is like, we don't care about that.
Yeah,
why
we're gonna send our team in.
We don't even know. He doesn't at this point probably even know she's an undercover cop. So why do we care about this criminal's girlfriend / partner / as far as we know, she's just as involved as anybody. No, I could see it in her eyes. So Vin Diesel, I guess, goes rogue.
Yeah.
And
but as Vin Diesel leaves, and we know he's going rogue.
We know he's going rogue because the Sam Jackson Gibbons character has told him, no, we're just gonna strike the castle at this point.
Samuel L. Jackson has the big smile on his face. Yeah. He's like,
He's like, you got the information we need. We know what's going on. We're gonna strike the castle. We're not getting your girlfriend out of there. She's a criminal. It's time for you to go home. And Xander then decides that he is going to sneak into the castle to get more information? Because that's where he sees the big weapon. We finally see the big weapon reveal, which is the sub with the bombs.
Yeah, he scales the cliff.
He scales. Why?
To get inside, because he couldn't just go through the front gate.
Well, I know why he scales the cliff, but why is he going back to the castle? To try to find her?
I think
Is he going rogue to find her? He's not getting more information at this point.
No, it was initially, I think, to rescue her.
Okay, so he's going in to rescue her.
But then...
Makes sense.
But then that door shuts. Okay. And he has to hide.
And he stumbles upon the lair.
And he has...
The lab.
Which actually brings me back to... We forgot to talk about the binoculars.
Yeah, he got binoculars.
The binoculars that can see through everything.
Which, of course, are used to see through a lady's clothes.
And immediately, that's the first thing they do.
That's the first thing they do, is the guy says, who's probably a co-worker and a scientist and some high-ranking female NSA agent. Yeah. He's like, hey, take a look at this. We're backtracking. We're big time for a second.
This is when he's like, equipped.
Oh, look, you can see that girl's underwear when you use these binoculars. Yeah. And it's like, okay.
And then the guy's like, hey, I think she likes you.
So Xander stumbles upon the secret.
Yeah,
lab.
So he's looking through the brick wall with his X-ray binoculars.
Yes, he is. I didn't even pick up on that.
He's watching everything the whole thing perfectly. He can hear everything, apparently.
He can hear everything. And you see Yorgi and the scientists. He's got this big group of scientists. Yeah. And they've developed this... Good night gas? I can't remember what they call it. Silent night. They developed this silent night gas that can dissolve in water, but is going to kill you. They've attached it to a
terribly
submarine.
Lethal, except when it gets into water, then it's fine.
And
they're going to attach it to a steampunk solar-powered submarine.
Hey, man, that's awesome. No, that's not awesome in general as a principle, but the fact that it's a steampunk solar-powered submarine is awesome.
They've clearly taken a long time to engineer.
Yes.
And build and polish.
And they're celebrating.
Nice.
Do they know what this is going to be used for?
They scrawl on it in Sharpie or paint.
Right.
Ahab.
That's right. It's Ahab. And it's very poorly written Sharpie. Yeah. And my question was, okay, so spoilers, blah, 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 blah. Yorgi's happy. They're celebrating. They're corking wine bottles. They're smoking cigars. They're
because they're going to get back to, I guess, old Russia or something.
Is that what their goal is? Because I'm wondering, do these guys know that they're basically making a weapon of mass destruction? Do they know this is going to be used to kill millions of innocent people? Because they're celebrating like they just found anything.
I think they're pretty much...
So they're bad guys.
I think they're bad guys. Okay. They're in on the plan.
They're in on the plan. So Yorgi and his big... tough fan of Xander Cage and cigarette guy and main girl
and some
all get in these glass booths.
Yeah, they go into this
and they shut the doors, which that's probably hint number one if you're a scientist to head for the hills.
Yeah, once the evil guy goes into
and they have to know that he's up to no good because they give him the they give him the detonator.
They give him the remote control to the
in a box with a bow on it. Yeah, like this is gifted to you, and he's like, oh, thank you guys. And then
what if they didn't give him that? What if they gave him just candy, like a box of candy?
Yeah, he gets inside the glass booth and he opens it and he's like, "This is awkward." Like, what are you doing in there? He's like pushing out a candy. He's like, "Oh,
I was
trying to activate the weapon?"
No, just let me out.
Let me out of here. And he pushes it and the gas comes out and it's funny if you watch extras. There's terrible extra work in this. Because as gas is coming out, if you go back and watch the scene, there's still some guys who are just standing in front of it, holding their champagne glass, talking, and it's like, well, you know what this thing does, and they figure it out, and they scatter, and they're beating on the glass. Oh,
yeah.
And he's laughing. Yorkie, you know what this will do. And Vin Diesel's watching all of this, and he's very disturbed by this.
Oh yeah,
he's almost crying.
He's actually very upset with this.
He's very upset, and I'm thinking to myself, I have a note. It's like Vin is really upset by ... evil scientists getting killed. Did they know what they were building and why? Because it's like, why do you care so much? If they knew what they were building, they're villains.
Yeah, but you don't want anyone to die just to die.
You don't want anyone to die just to die, but if they were developing, if you were a secret agent and you stumbled upon this group of scientists that were making a weapon of mass destruction that was going to kill the entire city of Chicago, and they got gassed, would you be as visibly upset as Vin Diesel was? He looked like it was innocent people getting...
Of course, maybe he's realizing the immensity of this
Possibly.
at that moment.
You think that's what maybe he's upset about?
If this can kill a small room of evil scientists...
That's a good point. Maybe he is like, oh man, this is serious.
Really...
So he escapes. Somehow we get into an action sequence where they discover that XXX is there.
Yeah, because... two guards show up, and then he's doing that thing where he's stuck on
he's
the
doing
ceiling.
the Batman thing. He's Batmaning it up.
Then he's way too sweaty. He needed some antiperspirant.
Because a drop of sweat
falls on, and they look
up on that. I must have been looking away from the computer.
That's when they look up, and he's just like, blah!
And he comes down like Batman. He beats the crap out of him.
Except one of them gets the alarm.
Okay, yes, thank you. Couldn't remember why they knew he's there. And we see them, and he's being chased, and the one guy's chasing him on a motorcycle. We see that he has taken the time at some point before to put some of those bandage bombs all over their vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
And this blows up the...
Well,
blows up the castle? Is this the end of the castle?
No,
because they return to the castle, I think. Okay, all right.
This just... Well, first of all, he pulls off the bandages on one of the motorcycles because he steals that one to escape.
Okay, all right.
And then he puts it on
puts it on big fan guys.
No, because the big fan guy he put him on all the motorcycles.
Okay, all right.
He thought to himself, I have these, I'm going to put them all on the motorcycle because that's the best use of this. Anyway, because then that comes with another ramp jump over the date scene.
Yeah, that's true. All right.
Because the date's going up. Ramp. And he is on the motorcycle, which they're like,
stop making him ramps.
So he jumps over the thing, and the big fan is right behind him.
Yes.
And
he's in the air.
And that's when he says another one-liner thing.
He says a one-liner. Vin Diesel, they show a point of view where Vin Diesel's on the ground. He hits the button. Did we miss the part where Vin Diesel jumps over a tower with a sniper and kicks the guy on the bike when the guy falls out? That was the way that the teeth fall out, and that's the last we see. Sorry, folks, that's the backtracking. That's the last we see of that guy. Vin Diesel jumps over a tower. Mm-hmm. He's right by a guy, kicks his foot out, kicks the guy off the tower, and his teeth fall out.
And while I'm at it, I don't remember what scene this was in, but he's on a motorcycle again.
Yeah.
He jumps over something, and he does that thing where he they kind of
he does like a handstand thing.
Yeah, and they are holding onto the seat of the motorcycle, so they're planking.
Yeah, stunt stuff.
And he gets a perfect shot off with a pistol and kills somebody.
I think that's in this sequence where he's escaping from the thing. So he hits the detonator. He blows up Big Fan Guy. So Big Fan Guy is done, and then he gets out of there. Okay, he's out of there. And he goes back to the first little hideout where the two Ivans or whatever are at, and where he takes his naps. And then he tells the cop is there, and he's like, we got to do this and this and this.
And the cop, right away, has gone evil.
The cop reveals.
He's sitting there, well, even before he reveals, he's sitting there in the room with the chair facing the door.
Yeah, that's when anybody is sitting. If I ever walk into a room that you're sitting in, and you're unexpectedly there in a chair facing the door, I know that you've turned on me and you're about to kill me because there's no other reason to be sitting there facing a door.
This is what you do when you're evil.
So he says, the pay is bad and Yorgi pays me more. And let's just face it, Yorgi rocks.
Oh, yeah.
If you could work for Yorgi, you would work for Yorgi. Yorgi's a good time. He owns a castle that's filled with beautiful women. All they do is party all day.
If you've already decided that you're going to be evil, join Yorgi.
No, I would see Yorgi like Scientology, where if you're just at, or at the first couple levels of it, everything seems great.
But
it's
once
when you get to like the 30 degree of Yorgi where you realize, oh, they're making bombs in the basement.
Yeah.
That's when Yorgi's no good. But on the surface level, entrance level in the Yorgi organization is probably amazing. You're guarding.
Yeah.
Maybe you're manning the sniper post one night a week.
Or
but
maybe
the other 6 nights
you're out
a
on
week
the street
partying.
having to push the dope or something.
Yeah, you're pushing the dope, or you're doing small criminal things, whatever. Maybe you're finding the cars that have to be stolen. But yeah, on paper...
Yeah, you're a lot better off with Yorgi than on your own.
You want to work for Yorgi.
Yeah.
So he's about to shoot him, and Vin Diesel's quipping, as always, and bullets come through the door. She knows through the door or whatever that's where he's sitting in the chair.
Because of talking.
Because she heard talking. Could have just as easily been Vin Diesel standing in front of the door as he walked in.
Geolocated them with her ears.
Yes. And she kills the cop. He's done.
Yeah.
We know that he's the one who gave it away. And then she says, hey, you know what? I'm an undercover cop.
Yeah, I was working with
the Russian FBI when that fell apart.
And then the order stopped.
The order stopped, which... So she's been... I'm thinking this movie came out in 2002. That was like, what, 1991, 1992 that fell apart? So she's been stuck undercover. The point is she's stuck undercover.
No, I think it was when... I think this was all in 99. Everything went haywire for these people in 99.
Okay. Point being, history lesson to the side from XXX. She is stuck undercover.
Yeah.
She's lost all her connections. She can't get out.
Apparently has no way of leaving the organization.
Yeah, and the two Ivans are also partnered with her, so maybe
so now they've immediately like joined up with her.
So they're double agents. They weren't with the cop. They were with her the whole time. Very confusing. But point being, I'm undercover too.
Yeah.
Because this is my saving grace, because now you care about me in the movie because I'm not just a villainous prostitute who's been helping this terrorist for the past 3 years.
Which leads
I'm saved
to greatness when I believe Vin Diesel in coat is talking to Samuel L. Jackson about the current situation.
Okay.
And he explains that he wants, citizenship and stuff for Elena.
Yeah.
And Samuel L. Jackson's just like,
Well, yeah, he's like, maybe not. But maybe let's focus on this nuclear warhead first, and then we'll talk about your girlfriend. And I'm going to need my coat dry cleaned. Yeah, well, fine. Coat dry cleaning is fine.
I love how then he'll do the thing that I find myself doing with my toddler son.
Yeah.
Where it's like, here, how about this? You just do your chores right now, and then we'll talk about this other thing.
He's like, let's take care of the nuclear sub first. So then Vin Diesel is put on task where he's got a plan. Mm-hmm. And they end up back at XXX base.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where...
Somehow. Which... I don't know how.
And this is the amazing thing. This is what I sat there and was like, how is this happening? Because he took over, apparently, the entire Czech Republic police military.
Yeah.
And everyone there is just like listening in awe at this plan. Like, now we finally have a plan to eliminate these people.
Everyone's listening to him. And it's a very detailed plan. And I have a note here. How long does Vin have to set up this castle strike? Because it's very elaborate. He wants gadgets built. He finds a bunch of weapons that he wants put in the car. It's a cool little scene where it pans over the weapons and onto the hood. And he's behind the driver's seat. And he tells XXXQ, I want all of that in here. And I have a note here. Always with the notes, folks. Never uses any of it. Like, you're thinking, like, oh, man, they're setting up this supercar.
He kind of pseudo-uses it.
But not for the castle strike, because the guy shows up with the car when the castle strike is done.
Too late, yeah.
So it's like, you're thinking, like, they're setting this up for an incredible action sequence with this car. Not really, but we'll get to that. So now it's time to get extreme, finally.
Yeah.
And they showed him earlier in the movie looking out the window, and in the distance of the castle, he sees people snowboarding and using snowmobiles. Which this movie has a very clever way of setting up foreshadowing stuff in a not too forced way. So we get to the castle strike.
Yeah, so they first realize that they have to knock out the communications center, which is tens of miles away from the actual castle.
Yeah, is that why he had to use the snowblower?
Because, he had to use a snowblower
because it's about extreme sports.
Well, they have to fly They fly to the top of the mountain.
'Cause he's like, who's a pilot? And the chick that he was looking at perversely naked through his binoculars turns out to be a pilot. So they fly to the top of the mountains.
Yeah.
Refresh me on this, because I don't remember this.
Yeah, they fly to the top, and there's an odd, weird tension with, like, the wind is bad, so the plane is shaky for some reason. Okay. But it doesn't matter because he still manages to jump out fine.
Is he on a parachute?
Yeah. Okay. Parachute.
And skis.
Snowboard.
Oh, he's on a snowboard. That's more extreme, yeah.
Yeah.
Because they have to have extreme stuff. Let me ask you this real quick. Let me ask you this real quick. Because I have a note on this, and I don't want to forget it, because I think it's core to this movie. There's cycling, and now this sequence, and I'm like, okay, they're finally doing something that has to do with extreme sports. That's what this base is on. Did you feel that there was enough extreme sports in this movie to warrant the concept of this guy is here because he knows extreme sports? Motorbiking, this one scene
the parachuting,
with the parachute. So you felt like there was enough extreme sports in this for that to be the concept?
Yeah.
I was just curious.
I mean, I guess.
Okay. So he snowboards.
They hit their targets. They hit the base jumping. They hit the this or that.
Yeah, you're right. So they otherwise it's just he's a spy, and it's just a James Bond movie. You got to have him doing extreme sports to warrant the concept. So I think there was it was they hit the target.
So he's snowboarding though.
He snowboards,
and immediately is detected.
Yes. So
the army of snowmobilers then is now giving chase.
They're chasing him.
And he does this snowboard. He ends up stopped on the edge of a cliff.
Yeah.
And pulls out 2 bombs.
Okay. Yes.
Throws them behind him to start the avalanche.
Starts the avalanche. Then he jumps off the cliff.
And then he jumps up because that's extreme.
That's extreme.
Also, there's an avalanche coming, so...
yeah. He could have flew off the cliff in the first place.
So he jumps off the cliff and is now being chased by the avalanche.
By the avalanche and by the snowboarders, but the snowmobilers. Yeah. The snowmobilers wouldn't have been able to jump off the cliff like him.
No, well, they weren't.
He has to cause the avalanche.
Yeah, so he was. This
to
is
destroy the tower. Is that the point of the avalanche? Is the point of the avalanche to keep them from chasing him, or to destroy the tower, or both, or just action?
I think initially it was to probably destroy the tower. Okay. You'd think you could have just done that with the 2 bombs you had.
That's true.
But
he's being chased by this avalanche.
So he's being chased by it.
And it's wreaking havoc.
Oh yeah, and
very important to tell, because I know where Leif is going to go with this. This is crashing trees down. This is crashing a brick building down.
Yeah,
this avalanche is like a disaster, natural disaster level avalanche.
Yeah,
and it just taking out everything in its path, except for,
well, there's the one guy.
He's in like he's like in the little. He's in what I guess is the control room of the.
Well,
it's like a little bunker. It's like a little brick bunker that's built into the side of the mountain that he's in there.
Well, he was giving chase too. Okay. But he saw it in the snowmobile.
Okay.
Soon enough to be the only one who managed to turn around.
To run in. Okay. All right.
And then he got back into it. Okay. Into the center.
And it's taken out anyway.
And then see all the snow come through and kill him.
Yeah, which I guess with that amount of snow, that would crush you, right? I mean, it would suffocate you, right? You would just be packed up against the wall.
You'd die for something.
You wouldn't dig out. So you would be killed by it.
But
not Vin Diesel, because Vin Diesel was able to.
He jumped onto the top of the antenna.
He jumped onto an antenna
that survived the whole thing.
Yeah, it crashed through trees. It annihilated this brick building. It's taking out everything. Yeah. He holds onto the antenna. Yeah. It's wobbling around.
Next scene, though,
covered in snow.
He's underneath the snow.
Yes.
But, the classic, the hand comes up.
The hand comes out.
Pulls up. And then he's one-liner. He's like, that's some fine powder.
Nothing like fresh powder.
There we go.
And so now the antenna is taken out.
Immediately, big, huge snow cats show up with his friends to pick him up.
Was it? I didn't think it was his friends. I thought it was the bad guys.
Yeah, sorry.
It was Yorgi.
Yeah.
They have apparently were just behind the avalanche and are riding it out because now they're just freshly driving on the snow, and they show up, and then the next scene they're
in the castle.
They're back at the castle. Is he tied up?
Yeah, they're tied up.
I really don't remember.
Yeah, it's him and Elena.
And she's tied up too. Oh no, this is when she still thinks that she's undercover, but he's like, hey, listen.
Yeah.
You can cut it out. I know you're a cop. I've always known. I just had a blast watching you be a prostitute and sell drugs for me, knowing that it was killing you inside. Yorgi is a great villain.
Oh yeah. Well,
in acting, in concept, he's got a clear ideology, he's got a clear plan.
mm-hmm.
He's doing things character related like that shows that he really is an evil bastard. And the actor himself is great. Yorgi is a great villain.
And I know this is by far my favorite moment.
Okay.
Of the film is when he's looking at Vin Diesel, and he's like, "I thought you, of all people, would have understood this."
Thank you. Thank you. Because
the disappointment that Yorgi was feeling at that moment in time.
But the unwarranted disappointment, because it's like, hey, you like punk music and pulling a prank or two. I thought you would have been fine with killing 5 million people. What gives, dude? Like, it's just like I really thought we had a connection here. Yorgi's very disappointed because he loves Xander Cage.
That's the thing. He's like, you're seeing a crushed man at that point.
He's like, you were in it to win it. And he's like, you're not in it to win it. So Yorgi goes down, and stuff happens.
Yeah,
not to gloss over it. Explosions happen. Yorgi gets the hard drive.
And then
I don't know how Vin and Elena are separated from him, or somehow
they're getting shot at. They have to hide behind a table, and that's when he makes his leave.
That's when he makes his leave because people are the cavalry has come.
Yeah,
and they're attacking the castle. So he gets down to the boat, and he's getting the boat set up. And he's gonna take off. And cigarette guy, he leaves behind. See you on the other side, brother. They know they're parting ways.
Yeah.
Which makes me wonder if Yorgi felt like anybody was gonna get out of this, because part of he does his villain monologue when he talks about how disappointed he is, and he says, my brother won't see it, and now you won't be there to see it either. And I wonder if Yorgi thought that he was gonna be there to see it, but that's besides the point. Cigarette guy is left behind to shoot them.
Well, and we should backtrack. That's when we learn the full plot here, too.
Yes, we know what his real plan is.
He wants to kill all these people so that all of the country just start fighting it in.
We'll start fighting with each other because, you must have did it. No, you must have did it. They're going to fight with each other. It's a very old 1960s James Bond villain plot.
We get back into
I think that's the plot of Dr. No.
We get into this, Cold War struggle.
Yeah.
And then apparently he's allowed to be free now.
Little James Bond fact for you folks. The plot of Dr. No, I think, is he's going to make the Russians think that the Americans attacked the sub and vice versa. And he's going to start World War III, which is Yorgi's goal.
Mm-hmm.
And then somehow in the midst of all this fighting in a war, because we've seen this from history, is what happens when you fight wars. Governments just completely fall apart and it's chaos, which is not what happens at all. There would just be a war. But he thinks that this is going to all of a sudden become such a huge global conflict.
We'd be fighting England. England would be fighting governments. France. Dogs would be fighting cats.
The governments will completely just fall apart, and now we'll have true freedom.
It would be Yori's castle all the time.
Yes, it would be Yori's castle all the time. Just babes, partying, stealing cars, listening to bro rock, and this is his vision for his fallen brothers that they won't be able to take part of. And like I said, he's got a vision.
Yeah.
So, hey, thank you, villain. You have a vision. You have a plan. They leave behind Smoking Guy. Smoking Guy is going to, kind of be his cover. Mm-hmm. And they go, well, we can't get him. That guy he's going to shoot us. We can't just shoot where he's at. What do we do? What do we do? We don't know where he's at. Where's he shooting? Where's the sniper at? And Vin Diesel, and they set this up earlier in the movie, too. This guy's shtick is he loves smoking. Yeah. I love smoke more than air. I will smoke after it kills me. And then Vin Diesel remembers. And again, XXx kind of knows what he's doing because he remembers, he's probably smoking.
Initially, though, he didn't think that because he looked down and someone invading the castle was also carrying a bazooka on him.
With a heat-seeking missile. That was just hey, what's this?
But that's the thing. He's like, is that you have a bazooka?
Oh, that's a bazooka. Yeah. Just blow something up.
It's a heat-seeking missile.
Yeah.
Which...
Yeah.
Anyway, that's when you see the beautiful mind working.
Yeah, he starts to beautiful mind / Sherlock it, and he goes, wait a second, he's probably smoking a cigarette right now. So that heat-seeking missile is going to seek out that secret. Not all these other explosions that are happening everywhere around us.
Not all the other heat going on in the room. It's going to be the cigarette.
So he says, how do you arm this thing? And the one soldier sitting next to him is like, oh, you just do this. He gets it set up for him.
Yeah.
And Vin shoots it. And we see, of course, they go, oh, the guy smoking the cigarette. And I think he takes one last drag on the cigarette so you can see the butt of it light up, which is a nice little production touch. Boom. Blows him up. Now we're after Yorgi.
Mm-hmm.
Now we can chase after Yorgi. Yorgi is got to get the boat. Yorgi ends up on a boat. Yorgi sets the sub, and the sub goes off on its own.
He's in the other room now. Sub is...
Ahab.
Yeah, he gets that thing going, which that thing was just really sad when it was going. It just was like, what is this, a paddle boat? What I mean,
because it can't go underwater, because I guess if you had a weapon that its only fault was that it was dissolved in water, probably a good idea to set it out on water. I mean, you could probably have access to a plane.
But the submarine, they made a point of saying that it was solar powered. So it'll only have to come up to get fuel.
I don't know.
And do its business, which is business in this time.
But Yorgi's not on Ahab. He's on a separate boat.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's making his escape.
He gets on the separate boat.
And Vin Diesel has a machine gun.
And, so
he's shooting at him. This leads me to the best line that I've ever heard in an action movie, delivered with such honesty. I don't know if it was ad-libbing. It had... Part of me hopes it was ad-libbing because I love that actor who plays Yorgi, and part of me hopes that this was a screenwriter who actually sat in front of a computer screen in the year 2000 and wrote this. Vin Diesel's shooting at him, and I apologize for the language. Yorgi yells, "Learn how to shoot, you piece of shit!" It's just like, I'm not laughing at the profanity like a 2-year-old, but the fact that he just screams... Because Yorgi is disgusted with XXX at this point. Yeah. He's been such a disappointment to him. Learn how to shoot, you piece of shit. And I just laughed.
You can't even kill me at this point.
No, I just laughed.
You are a complete failure.
You're a complete failure. But not, because then Vin Diesel...
Well, he's lying underneath. You're forgetting the part. Vin Diesel's shooting at him, ignoring the fact that that big, huge metal garage door is coming down on top of him.
In a Batman 1960s TV show fashion, every time they go back to it, it's not as closed as it was before. He's got a lot of time. This garage door is closing. And he can't go on the other side of the garage door because I don't know why.
Yeah. I mean, there's plenty of room.
There's plenty of room. But the garage door is closing. He's got time to get off one last shot.
Yeah.
And
he shoots
Yorgi, our hero. The hero of the movie at this point is taken
out. And...
Falls against the controls.
Yeah, drives into a cliff.
And realizes, drives into a cliff, but immediately explodes. This has got a lot of movie physics where any motorized thing that hits anything is immediately exploding. It's not just a crash, it's immediately blowing up. That's it for Yorgi. But we still got a lot of trouble.
Yeah, so they pull Vin Diesel out. No, they don't pull him out. They manage to...
They just go back to the front of the castle.
Well, no, they manage to slide that oxygen tank into the garage door to trap it so they can pull him out.
All right.
And then the oxygen tank immediately gets crushed, which that doesn't, the pressure doesn't make it... Anyway.
But all of this means nothing because they go back to the front, and this is when XXX pulls up with the supercar.
Yep.
And you're thinking, all right, they're going to do something with this car.
Mm-hmm.
They get in the car. He shows them all the stuff. He's like, oh, we're both going to be fired for this. None of this was improved. Why wasn't it improved? Approved. The operation was approved. Vin Diesel was clearly in charge of the operation, so if he needed the supercar, why? I'm going to be out of a job for putting this stuff in this car.
All of these agents, all of this stuff. That's when he was giving his big rally pep talk about we're going to go invade the castle.
Yeah, we're going to invade the castle.
I'm thinking to myself, and everyone is on board with this?
Well, he is in charge to the point where he is giving people promotions. He's making command decisions. He's like, you're in charge of this whole operation now, XXX. And XXX is like, oh, awesome, thank you. And he starts barking orders. And XXX is, every scene we see, his shtick is that he's hitting on women about being a spy, but whatever. It's too late to talk about that. And they're off to chase this Ahab sub with the thing on it that's heading towards the city.
Yeah, it's heading towards the city, and they're driving right alongside of it.
Intercut with absurd scenes of kids playing in parks.
Okay, yeah.
An old man sitting on a bench painting.
Oh, yeah.
Or something like
Because we need to remember that there's going to be real people.
There's real people. This has to have weight to it. We better show some kids running in a field.
Yeah, because XXX wasn't real until we saw a kid playing with some geese.
It looked like there was a tank of Nas in that car.
Yeah.
I don't know if they ever use it, but I think that was a little like, I think there's Nas in there. Well, and there's a classic, he crashes through fruit carts.
Okay, I wanted to bring this up because...
Classic.
Because the road's blocked because of there's like a crash or something. There's a crash.
This is classic action movie.
Because they even show like the old guy sitting outside of his car and like someone's like fanning him.
Yeah. This is stuff that they had to purposely do as a loving nod to scenes like this before.
Which is also the only time that car ever got used for its created purpose.
Yeah, because they use missiles to blow up a cart.
Yeah, so that you can blaze through it. Okay, so they shoot, blaze through it.
Do you think... I gotta go back to that for 1 second. What are the chances that you think that they thought that this is a great idea? Let's have them blow through this. Or what are the chances that they sat around, the director and the writers, like, remember in all the old Bond and spy movies, like in Mike Flynn, there would always be the shtick of a guy with a fruit cart. I hope they were just a loving nod to the shtick and not... they thought this, there'll be a fruit cart in the way and he'll have to explode it. It has to be.
I got it.
It has to be.
Fruit cart.
But anyway, he crashes through.
Yeah. Okay.
And they're chasing.
No. Back up.
All right.
So, next scene. Carts, fires everywhere. Car goes through it. Cars blazing down the road.
Yeah.
The extras in this.
I have to go back and look at them.
I was watching. No one pays attention to it.
No one pays attention to the car?
No one is except one person just casually looks back
This
at
is
the
people
car.
at the scene of the explosion or as they're still driving?
No, at the scene of they are like 50 feet away from all of this happening.
Well, it kind of was our fault for leaving the fruit cart in the way. This happens all the way. I told you.
I mean, there must be so many things happening in the 2000 era Czech Republic for these people not to... Whatever.
Like, I'm more worried about the fruit cart right now. Perfect planning on Yorgi's part. Not only is your submarine nuclear weapon that's only deterrent as water on the water, but it's also parallel to a road that anybody can drive along. And this is what they're doing. And it's cutting away, and he's like, we got to get back to the water. Does this road lead back to the water? She's like, I don't know. He's like, well, use the GPS. And she does, and she goes, oh, yeah, we got... 15 miles, and this gets back to the water. So he comes up with a plan.
The GPS was also tracking the sub for some reason.
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, there's two like dots.
That's pretty great. And they start looking through the card, and then she's looking through a manual, which is a handwritten manual that looks like somebody's diary.
Yeah.
That XXX made. And she's like, his writing is terrible. There's great little moments of this movie.
and they basically just go one by one why they can't do anything. Like,
oh, we can't do that. He's like, there's got to be something. I had him put all that junk in this car. No, can't use that. Well, let's do this. No. And they can't blow it up. And at this point, time is running out, and Sam Jackson has to decide at Command Central, we can blow this thing up. Because apparently, I thought it was going to be one city, but apparently this thing is going on a tour of cities.
Yeah, that's why it's solar powered, man. Okay. It's going to go everywhere. It's
just going to keep going. So I thought the whole plan was just to blow up one city, and then that would start the war, but apparently that's not. Oh, because then they would think that this was counter-striking or whatever. Whatever. We're past that point. So he's got to decide, do we blow it up there? It's going to release all the gas. It's going to kill that one city, but it's not going to kill 6 cities, and it's not going to start World War III. And they have 15 miles, and they're looking for, so what can we do? Can we do this? Can we do this? So he's looking in the back seat, and he hits the back seat, and like this gun chest pops up, and there's like a harpoon type thing. And a parachute? So the goal is that he is going to, she takes the wheel, and he is kind of like doing the he's car surfing.
Well, they remember, they do blow the roof off the car.
They blow the roof off the car.
Yeah.
And, okay, so he's not on top of the car. Yeah. He's like just standing in the passenger seat. And the goal being is that he is going to shoot Ahab, the submarine, with the harpoon. It's going to attach it to him, and then he's got the parachute on, and he's going to parasail. Mm-hmm. Which he does.
Which, by the way, it's a metal harpoon.
Yeah.
At a metal submarine.
Yeah.
And he fortunately shoots it through the solar panel.
He shoots it through the solar panel. He doesn't hit any of the...
other stuff.
Other chemicals or whatever. And he shoots it through the solar panel. And then he engages his parachute. and now he's parasailing, and now he's got to start kind of, and then he's like, he shows it, and it's a cool sequence, and it looks again like they're really doing it, and they show it from a couple of angles. You see the sub, you see him up in the air, it's pulling him along, and he's got to get down to it, so he...
But then it's like, oh poop,
a bridge is coming. Yes. Okay. And he then decides, okay, he zip lines down. He's going to zip line down. He detaches himself from the parachute, but the parachute is still attached to the harpoon, which is still attached to the sub. Then he zip lines down on top of the sub. All in all, like, for as goofy as this movie was, if this wasn't like the next Daniel Craig James Bond movie, you'd be like, oh, that's a solid action sequence. It's pretty well thought out. It's pretty cool. He's parachuting, he's zip lining, he's landing on the sub. He's on the sub, and he sees what he's in for. Okay, and the parachute, of course, we forgot to say was an American flag, which is a James Bond fan. I think was another little nod to James Bond with Spy Who Loved Me when he skis off and it opens up into the British flag. Classic. Any people, if you do not watch this movie, please at least YouTube, and you won't be able to see, but it's going to crack Leif up because he's going to know it when I do it. Please go and watch Vin Diesel's reactions as he's...
Oh, yeah.
His facial acting.
The entire scene where he's trying to figure out the tech stuff.
He looks so perplexed.
Oh, he has no idea what's happening.
So stressed out. I don't know if it's terrible acting or great acting, but boy.
This is the look of a man who was, I'm going to save everything, and then immediately realizing he's over his head.
He's in over his head. And at this point, Sam Jackson and the commandos are on the bridge, and they're like, the planes are coming in.
And the missiles are getting ready to launch.
The missiles are getting ready to launch. But then Vin Diesel takes a missile out and just turns it upside down.
He puts it upside down in the thing. I don't know. So it doesn't fire?
So I think so when it fires, it
just would go straight
down. But at my point, the first thing I say about this is, if you could pull the missiles out, just pull them all out and toss them in the water.
Yeah.
Water destroys these things.
Just,
you don't need to risk blowing up the rest of them. Just pop them out and throw them in. Sam Jackson sees this and he goes, hold on a second, he's on to something.
The planes off.
Hold off the planes. I was very surprised, probably for budgetary reasons. Usually when you have a call the planes off moment for tension, they're showing the planes get closer and you're showing the cockpit guys.
Yeah.
But that's money.
Oh, yeah.
So they
this
don't.
Is
they
the
just
planes just sort of like...
Do you ever see the planes flying at all? You never see the planes,
do you? You saw them get into the planes.
Okay, so you see them get into the planes, but you don't see planes flying towards the scene.
Flying or not.
It doesn't matter.
There was so much stuff happening.
They call it off. The thing does what you said. It shoots down and blows up and sinks the sub.
But, and this is, it's competing with the I thought we were
You're thinking
friends.
about your jump the sub moment.
Yeah, probably.
So what is the moment you're speaking of?
When because the thing is about to fire.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I still got to do something.
Yeah.
And he decides what he should have decided a long time ago as he stared at the whole thing in just confusion. He pulls the hard drive out of the device. But before he does it, he looks up at camera, I believe, and is like, Xander Zone.
Yeah, he says Xander's. Oh, boy, yeah, it's a callback to Xander Zone.
And then the sub immediately plunges.
Oh, it just plunges.
But see, I don't know if it was fired and plunges. I have no idea.
Because they seem to think he's dead, which you wouldn't think just because the subby was on plunges and he could swim.
A lot of stuff happened.
So a lot of stuff happens in this scene. They're on the bridge and they're doing the Last Crusade, Indiana Jones, where the tank goes off the cliff and they're standing there and they're like, oh... Again, a nice little nod to another movie where they're like, he died for his country, and the girl is upset.
Well,
and
yeah,
I don't want to get into this, but wasn't there one point when he says we don't think we can get her asylum? It doesn't matter.
Well, that was way back in the day.
Okay, all right.
But this is when he's like, I'm a true to my word. You're gonna get.
Okay, so he tells her, he's like, yeah, I'm a man of my word, and she's like, oh, what is it? What does it matter now? It's like, what does it matter now? Okay, well, yeah, you like this dude. You've known him for about a week, but you've been stuck undercover in these miserable conditions for 2 years, 3 years. You're going to get to go to the United States. You're not going to have a criminal record. None of it matters without Xander. Then she perks up. And you can tell he's doing the thing where he's lost men in battle before and he's shaking his head and he's got his head down. And then all of a sudden from 100 yards away, her head pops up. She looks to the left. and somehow she can hear him coming out of the water because she runs over to the other side of the bridge. And there he is, and he's like sitting on like a bank of like some rocks.
Shivering.
And he's like, Bora Bora. And they're like, what did you say? And he's like, Bora Bora. And they realize, okay, he's all right. This is what he wants as his reward. Yeah. He's going to go off to Bora Bora. The day has been saved. And great. Cuts to the next scene where they're doing the, like, he gets the girl at the end, the James Bond thing. And they're sitting on the beach, and he's like, this and this and this. And they're talking and having, like, a romantic moment. And they're kissing. And the gross open-mouth Vin Diesel kissing that we talked about in the Fate of the Furious, which is that really wide open, like, disgusting, like, you don't want to see type.
Oh, yeah, he's getting his whole...
Yeah, he's getting his whole mouth into it. And then the phone rings. And this is what I was I was very confused about this. I went back and I watched it 3 times. And it's Sam Jackson. Mm-hmm. And he's like, XXX, I got to talk to you. We got a whole new thing that we're working on. And I'm thinking, okay, they're setting up a franchise. And then he says, you passed the Gibbons test.
Yeah.
And Vin Diesel's like, what? And he looks at her and she starts laughing and he shakes his head. He's like, you gotta be kidding me. And then they jump into the water. Was this whole thing a test?
Was it a test for more... something even more extreme?
I don't know. Did you pick up on that, or by that point was the movie just over for you?
I heard
he's like, you passed the Gibbons test, and he's like, you gotta be kidding me.
I heard the Gibbons test thing, and I was just like, I was starting to think about it when the next scene was them jumping into the water.
Yeah, and then that turns into an eye.
Yeah, I don't know. They were like...
It morphs into a CGI eye, and I'm like, what? And then it's tubes. Weird. Yeah. It's like a weird CGI cut to credits that they do that made no sense. Then a cool, like, Guns N' Roses album cover looking XXX logo pops up. And then we're done. The day's been saved. XXX has saved the day. He gets the girl. Mm-hmm. So we're going to go through now what we do. We're going to go through our Fact of the Furious. We're going to go through Leif's most absurd moment. Our favorite line. We've been going pretty long on this, so we'll roll through this pretty quick. Fact of the Furious. This was on Wikipedia. Thank you, Wikipedia. I'm just going to assume it's true, but I did hear about this before. This is why I researched it. His stunt double. Did you hear about this? Mm. His stunt double was killed when he hit a pillar of the bridge in Prague, parasailing during that action sequence. The accident occurred while filming the second take of the stunt. The guy's name was Harry O'Connor. O'Connor's first attempt was completed without incident, and that's the take that you can see in the film. So when he's parachuting under the bridge, in real life, this stunt guy did not detach enough in the second take and hit the bridge and was killed. And I was gonna bring that up when we were talking about that sequence, but I didn't want to kill the buzz of talking about that sequence. And they used his first take. I talked to a friend about this who's kind of into filmmaking and kind of enjoys following movies. And they said that there is a tradition and an unwritten rule with stunt people and performers that if they are killed in the line of what they're doing, you don't use the take where they're killed because that's terrible, but you use it. And I can kind of see he died for this and he did the stunt and this was his career and his life. Mm-hmm. So that's one fact. Another fact, and we'll talk a little bit more about this when we do the next XXX movie somewhere down the line, which is called State of the Union, starring Ice Cube. Vin Diesel doesn't come back for the second one, just like he didn't come back for the second Fast and Furious. And then he has this way of coming back and being like, oh boy, I probably should go back and do these movies. Last Witch Hunter didn't quite work out. He didn't come back to it. So there's a short little 10-minute movie, and we'll be able to watch it online, I assume, on YouTube, because it's on. There's a director's cut of this DVD, is which I'm getting to. And the director's cut featured some additional scenes that foreshadowed Xander as a hero. So probably some character setup in the beginning to say this guy is not all bad. A longer stripper in the bedroom sequence. Ugh. I don't know how you could have that be longer. I mean, that was, to me, just almost graphically long. We got the point. It was like a complete pole dance, but whatever. And then on this DVD, there's this thing called The Final Chapter, The Death of Xander Cage, where commandos storm his apartment. And I've watched this, and we'll talk more about it in the next one. But basically, they film this little thing. Vin Diesel's not in it; it's a body double, and they have to show you how he gets killed without any ceremony. I remember it just being like he's just killed, like commandos raid his house and kill him, and because they had to kill Vin Diesel basically off screen. So that's something for it's 4 minutes long, something to look out for. But that just ties up the Xander Cage story. And to be honest with you, I don't know if they reference it at all when in the third one when Xander Cage comes back, because there's a pretty gory scene where the guy who killed him, they blow up his apartment and all his stuff is in shambles at the street. And the guy walks up to a piece of skin laying on the ground, and it's his XXX tattoo, and he picks it up and is like holding the like loose skin in his hand with the XXX tattoo. So I don't know if they're just gonna be like, "Yep, that never happened," or if they'll like reference like it. But regardless, who cares? Let's get on to the meat of it. Leif, can I have your jumping the sub moment?
Oh. There's so many of these things. It's not even fair with these movies.
You tend to lean towards character moments as you're jumping the sub over the action sequences because you just get drowned in the action sequences.
Yeah.
So was yours Yorgi's disappointment in the fact that he wasn't basically?
See, that was like the greatest part of the movie for me, because that was like this legitimate like. Yeah. I thought we were friends. Like you got it.
Come on, man. You get me, like, you know.
It was the bromance.
I could not even also pick one out. Maybe holding on to the antenna and surviving an avalanche. I mean, I'm looking over the notes here, but there's so much.
I do think being chased by the avalanche down the mountain was
clearly the big like this is stupid action sequence. So I'll play with that. The car skydiving stunt was just a cool stunt. I didn't think it was absurd. They really did it, and it just looked cool. Yeah, I would say that I would be on board with that.
I guess if anything was absurd, I do think the one scene of the guy running out of the drug building with all of the war going on around him, carrying the giant thing of cocaine.
Yeah. Yeah, you almost have to pick a little character beat out of this because the whole movie was absurd action sequences. Yeah. I would go on board with that. My favorite line of this movie, as we do every episode, it was a toss-up between the one guy. At first I thought, like, when I was making the notes, I'm like, oh, that's it. When the one guy is like, the guy on the bike, that's the drug lord, just because it was so stupid. They had to write it. They had the actor speak it in Portuguese, and then they had to put the subtitles on it just so you knew that guy was yelling, the guy on the bike, that's the drug lord. And I like, oh, that's it. I had it on there. Nope. I spoke too soon because of learn to shoot, you piece of shit. In so many action movies when people have terrible aim, to have a guy getting shot at, be like, come on, dude.
To be just completely just disappointed.
To shoot you. And he's doing it in the... I got to see this actor in another movie to see if he's doing the fake Eurotrash accent. Because he's doing that very, like, I am Russian bad guy.
What's his problem?
And this is, like, in that stretch of movies where it's like, oh, man, who's our villains now? We have to have Faceless Terrorist Group as villains. Mm-hmm. So, like, he's very, like, oh, I will kill you. So that, folks, is my favorite line. We're going to wrap it up by saying how many wheels? Just a general thought about this. I'll let you go first.
Oh.
Out of 4. Anybody listening for the first time, you do this 4 wheels.
I'm giving it 2.5.
I'm right there with you.
I liked it. Like as a movie, it was actually like, okay, good scene, whatever. But the dialogue killed it. Like, all of the constant... It's just like, shut up, you idiot.
Yeah, he doesn't shut up. And, again, one quip is fine. It'd be like when Arnold is like, hey, chill out, or he gets the point. And then he just keeps... Austin Powers. Do you remember Austin Powers?
Oh, yeah.
How, like, where he would be like, I think he gets the point. He got to the heart of it. And, like, one of the gags in the Austin Powers is he would do the James Bond quip, but he would try to do 4 or 5 of them. Mm-hmm. And whoever he's with would be like, yeah, that's the one. Come on, let's go. That was like this now that I think about it. It was like 5 quips. He was doing 5 Arnold quips. It's like, no, you do 1.
I was telling a coworker today, actually, about this.
Yeah.
I was like, I watched this. I never watched it before. I was like, it sort of has this weird nostalgia, like for the 90s and 2000s.
Yeah, this was a 2000s movie. The music, everything.
I'm just like, but at the same time, I mean, it was hilarious, but it was also just like, I couldn't get into it. And he's asking me, he's like, okay, well, is it like one of those movies where you can just watch it like, it's hilarious because it's so bad?
No.
No.
Because it's competent enough.
Yeah.
There's a plot and there's okay acting, but it's just not, it's not fun.
Yeah.
And I'll get to that. I'm going to give this 2.5 wheels.
Yeah.
Okay. It was because it was like, yeah, that was a movie, and it was fun things happened. But it was a big weekend at work, so I was very tired this weekend. So I'll admit, I started watching this movie, got halfway through, started watching it the next day, got a little bit further, and finally last night I sat down, no distractions, watched it from beginning to end as a movie, and I watched it, and I just...
You're practically a student of this film.
Oh, yeah. It wasn't fun in the way... It was absurd, but it wasn't fun in the way that the Fast and Furious movies that we've watched are fun.
Well, that's the thing, because you find yourself, you want to like the goofy bad guy.
Yeah.
Or you want to like this or that, but then you find out that they're also just terrible people.
Yeah.
And it's like, I can't, laughing at trying to take over the world, okay, that's... You can,
it's James Bond.
But at the same time, it's just like, oh, he's actually also...
He's a terrorist.
He's also making her a sex slave.
Yeah, just weird stuff.
I can't laugh at that.
Vin Diesel had a lot more charisma in this than he has had in the recent Fast and Furious movies. I'll be interested as we go back through the Fast and Furious movies, if those earlier ones, if he has a lot of charisma. Because it's night and day. I liked him. His performance was good. I loved Yorgi. The girl was the female lead. The henchmen were fine. The set pieces were... Actually, a couple of them were pretty impressive. Mm-hmm. I was impressed by the fact that it was a lot of practical stunts. But the whole time I was watching it, it just wasn't fun. And it does have that 2000s nostalgia. And from the XXX trailer for the new one that comes out on DVD tomorrow that we'll talk about in a month, 2 months, who knows. I wonder if they're still going to have to... The music, the style, the extreme sports stuff...
are they going to have the
all that stuff is
music?
Past. That stuff is way in the past. This is nostalgic because it came of the time.
Yeah.
I'm very curious to see in this new XXX
sports
movie...
are fairly banal now.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see in the year 2017, are they still going to be hitting all these marks of extreme sports, the rap rock? Because this whole XXX world that this created does not work in the year 2017. So are they going to go a completely different direction? Or are they still going to be like, this is the 2001 nostalgia in 2017? I'll be very curious to see how that movie works. But yeah, 2.5 wheels, it was all right. I didn't watch it and say, like you said, I wasn't watching it like, oh, this is terrible. But at the same time, I wasn't watching it and goes, oh, this is terrible.
Yeah.
It was just like...
The thing. There was no... There's stuff that was too real to keep you from...
Yeah.
Falling out of, like, reality.
A movie can be brilliant and a movie can be terrible. Would you agree, and I've heard this said many a time, that the worst thing that a movie can be is mediocre? Not great, not offensively bad, just yup.
Yeah.
And this was a yup. But I'll still watch the next one.
Oh, yeah.
It's Ice Cube now, and I'll still definitely watch the third one.
Oh, we're broing down on the other two.
Yeah, guys, XXX, the original... 2.5 wheels from both of us. Enjoyable, but somewhat forgettable. I think my favorite part of the movie was Yorgi. Don't think there's much more we can say about that.
Nope.
Next week, we are going to be talking about Fast and the Furious 6.
Okay.
Been a couple weeks since we talked about a Fast and the Furious. Keep that ball rolling. Leif, as always, why don't you tell people where they can find us, where they can reach us?
Okay, we're on the Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, all Fastback Podcast. So just look there.
Yeah, Fastback Podcast. We'd love to hear any from you guys.
Yeah,
you can download us on iTunes. We're there.
iTunes.
Pocket Cast, you said that you put us on. Google Play. Mm-hmm. It's all there. Wherever you're listening. You're listening to this somewhere if you're hearing us talk about this.
Yeah.
But social media-wise, jump on that Twitter.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, just say you're listening. Give us a comment on YouTube. We would love to hear from you.
Fastback Podcast.
Email us if you have any questions. And you know what? If you have something about this that you want to bring up. If there's a point that we missed, if there's something that you're sitting there and you're going, I can't believe they didn't talk about this. Email it to us. We'll have a little segment at the beginning of the next show before we talk about the movie we're talking about that week, where we'll say, so-and-so brought this up. And we'll be like, yeah, of course. How could we have missed that? So point is, we'd love to hear from you. Next week, Fast and the Furious 6. Thank you to everybody listening.
Yep, thanks.
And
yeah, see you later.
See you later, guys. Stay furious.